Well, good morning. How is everyone doing today? Welcome to Zyxel's webinar. Before we begin, if you can raise your hand, if you can hear my voice, that would be awesome. Just letting me know that you are here and that you can hear me well. All right, looks great. Good to see all of you here this morning or this afternoon. Good morning. We're here to talk about Zyxel's ATP product line that we're launching at Zyxel here. If you have any questions, of course, please use the Q&A box. You can send that off to me. We'll answer them if we can at the end. Also, this will be recorded as well, so you can catch that or send it to your team members to watch the webinar after it's been posted to our VAR partner site. So I wanted to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Tri Nguyen. I'm the product marketing manager here at Zyxel, in charge of security products and business class switching networks. And we wanted to introduce you to Zyxel to begin with. So if you're new with the partner, welcome. Welcome to Zyxel. We're here to be your networking ally. So we look forward to doing business and helping you, unlocking your potential. So let's go ahead and move to our first slide here. We've been in the business for over 28 years. Actually, 1989 is when we actually started here at Zyxel. So it's probably now it's going on 29 years. We're almost to our 30th year. We have 1,500 employees worldwide. We serve 150 markets worldwide, and we've powered over 700,000 businesses with our networking business solutions. Over 100 million devices are being used globally to make some sort of connectivity process in the network. We also focus on kind of three areas here at Zyxel: the telco service provider products that can include, DSL equipment, DSLAM, fiber connectivity, to the business connectivity products, where I'm mostly in charge of. That's all your business class networks, probably where you're mostly doing your business. And then also in the connected home, just routers, home plug devices, wireless extenders, things like that, just for a home consumer. But primarily we've focused on a majority of our businesses is within the business class product connectivity, especially here in the channel. We pride ourselves in our R&D capabilities, of course. We have over 500 of our 500 of our employees are software and hardware engineers. So you can see it's like a third of our workforce. We have over 150 technical support folk to deliver really all aspects of those latest networking technologies in switching, wireless, security. And what that does is it actually gives us real flexibility to work with you as a partner to control the different kinds of features, functions, and fixes, of course, to really to help to assist in our partners. Whatever you guys feedback to us, we take seriously and really try to see how we can implement that. So if you have some forward thinking, some ideas on how you could do better, how the business can do better, we'd love to hear from that to see how we can implement that, whether in the existing products or in new products that we have. And of course, our portfolio is quite comprehensive. It consists of a full range of products, a whole commercial product solution, security appliances, switch networking, wireless networks, hotspot gateways, and also the network management solution. So I pretty much say anything that is connected to a network, Zyxel has some sort of solution that can fulfill those needs and those demands. So let's move on to kind of the meat of what we want to talk about today. Today you're here about is ATP. And there's history behind it. Why this kind of technology is needed? Well, of course, there's a skyrocketing threat that's out there, cryptojacking, especially with the growth of bit mining and Bitcoin mining, all the cryptocurrencies that are there. There's a lot of applications. There's a lot of viruses or malware that actually will hijack your computer and use that and use all the CPU cycles and such in the background, and then do the mining for the for the main host, whoever it has that owned that account for Bitcoin mining, for example. And users are usually not aware of that it's happening. Maybe their computer is slowing down, but really, that's maybe nothing new to them. They may experience slowdowns kind of all the time, so it kind of seems like it's normal. But of course, that can go ahead and take run over like CPU usage of servers and any of those kinds of high-powered devices that have a lot of CPU power. That is a big deal, and sometimes it makes the product obviously unusable. But the big one is, especially when organizations are using cloud and their cloud machines or their virtual machines are infected or have been, whatever's in the data center is getting overtaken, then a lot of times they're paying for those CPU cycles, as a rental for the device. So they're actually paying for these miners to be able to use their computer. So it's coming out of someone's pocket, and it's and it's obviously not the malware maker there. So crypto jacking is a big deal. And of course, there's an increased number of ransomware. We hear that all the time. Attacks like WannaCry. It's been 5.4 billion WannaCry attacks that have been blocked. Since its inception. That vulnerability and also variants like the Petya virus. And of course, there's also variants that people make. There's services out there online that is a ransomware as a service, offering. You've heard of software as a service, but here there's a ransomware as a service where you can go subscribe to a service that lets you create your own malware, create your own ransomware, and be able to get a file and be able to use that to distribute. It's totally crazy. So variants of that kind of activity is popping up all the time. So there's an increase of new ransomware variants all the time, and the threat is huge, right? Massive scale. You can take out, even at specific institutions that you're trying to hit, even physically, but then you can also spread it virtually through the internet. One of the biggest kind of pieces of that, of threats that are out there are the unknown threats, right? We know of all those little viruses and malware and the signatures that come to block those. But what about the viruses that some of these guys are making that are basically 0 day? That means that they don't have a threat signature yet. So in most cases, they're getting probably bypassed. They bypass the system. And most of the hackers now, they actually leverage 0 day. Why would you use kind of an old virus to do an attack when you can make a new one that is not detectable or not detected yet and be able to do attack? Because especially the unknown threats, those are hard to detect, right? So they're taking the best way of trying to attack. And of course, data breach is a huge thing in the news. We hear it all the time when big companies get hit with some sort of data breach. Of course, in the United States, it's the most highly attacked one with the highest total cost of data breach in a country. So when it's data breached, it's bad. And of course, companies that also do business in Europe, now they're faced with GDPR, which is a European regulation that pretty much enforces data protection. So you have to follow by these strict rules and these strict standards in order to comply with that GDPR. And if you don't, those companies are getting hit with, much bigger penalties and things like that for those incidents. So you can see it becomes a big cost. So data breach is a huge issue that's popping up. And of course, we have to prepare for that. Most people don't prepare. And so they're on the kind of reactive side. So they're waiting until they get some sort of data breach or some sort of ransomware before they make any kind of action. That's kind of like insurance, right? When you have a fire or something like, besides fire, I guess when you have a flood, people then go buy flood insurance after the fact, right? So that's kind of something that we want to educate to our customers and our partners to push this to the end, to your customers. So what is ATP? Well, ATP has kind of a really unique, different way of approaching how we do security. And in part of it, the biggest part that's different is that it does use some sort of cloud intelligence. So it's powered by the cloud in terms of how it deals with these threats. So why does the cloud intelligence really matter? So usually in a business, in an SMB, there's fixed hardware capacity. There's only a set amount of periodic signature updates the hardware can do. And you're also depending upon third-party feeds only, right? So you're kind of limited in that regard. But with the cloud, you can scale pretty much unlimited scalability via cloud computing. So you can handle a lot more things, right? Your capacity can be better. You can also learn do live learning and update in seconds rather than doing periodic signature updates. And of course, instead of just doing third-party feeds, you can use that cloud intelligence now to kind of build your own global sharing synergy and provide real-time cloud data feeds to not only your devices that are in the field, but to other devices that are using the same service as well. So the more basically ATP products that are out in the field using the technology, the smarter the cloud intelligence will get. So that's a really cool thing to think about as we move on. So it's all in one there. And also we provide multi-layer protection. Of course, there's all sorts of persistent threats, right? There's all sorts of malware, spam, phishing, malicious links, there's bot commands, there's exploits, things like that that all provide some sort of threat. So you need a multi-layer level of protection. And Zyxel actually has product that is the standalone. So a standalone piece of hardware may not be able to defend them all. Right, but it probably defends majority of them, especially when there's signatures that are available. But the ATP actually has multi-layer protection that really provides this seamless coverage, and it's holistic in its whole design. So it's working at looking at all those areas of threats and being able to manage that and to be able to block it. So the multi-layer protection actually gets smarter over time, right? We've kind of renamed, if you're used to our USG series, our products kind of have gotten maybe recategorized in terms of how the different services before are called. Before you had like content filtering, intrusion detection, prevention, you had antivirus, you had anti-spam, et cetera. So now it's kind of grouped within these kind of categories: the content filtering, botnet, the app patrol, sandboxing, which I'll talk about, anti-malware, and intrusion detection. And really, it's a whole layer of being able to block all those kinds of information, those kinds of malware threats coming through this kind of almost like a filter device. So outside traffic getting down, trying to get into your network is getting blocked. Anything people trying to use to go out to the internet is getting blocked or being controlled. And then being able to sync all that information, in real time to that cloud database. And again, being able to learn from that as well. So the machine learning that is in the cloud, we use like a Minerva cloud, and it's a self-evolving cloud intelligence. So it adapts to new unknown threats. So you might ask, like, how does it know about unknown threats? It's unknown, right? But that's the beauty of what ATP does, the Advanced Threat Protection product from Zyxel here. So we can look at new unknown threats. We can send that information to the cloud. We actually send either the file, the pattern, the user pattern itself to the cloud. The cloud puts it into a sandbox, and it identifies it. It gives feedback to the product as well, and makes basically makes it known pretty much on how it behaves. And then it updates that information to that database in the cloud. And of course, it's doing that over and over again. And that database continues to grow as more and more threats come passing through. So, I mean, people ask, well, if there's one unknown threat coming through, like what happens? Well, of course, that first unknown threat will get sent to the cloud. And then you can decide whether you want to block or allow it originally. But then after it gets known in the cloud, then any threats of that exact same thing will now have a signature basically immediately, and that can be propagated across all the networks that are using the Zyxel product. The database, again, like I mentioned, is a Minerva cloud. It takes all those unknown threats. It can rank them. It continues to grow. It can update to all the devices all around the world. So you get daily updates to the product, and it really works into defending zero-day attacks. So those threats that come out, attacks for the first time at a particular network, within just not very long at all of the information signature is sandboxed and analyzed and then sent out to other devices that are inquiring for those threats. We've also introduced security and analytics as well within our ATP products. So there's two aspects: analytics that are on the hardware itself and also through a cloud reporter. And so in the device itself, there's a dashboard, and it has 7 days of threat statistics. It gives you also reboot traffic records, things like that. Quick overview of your network security kind of health. And And then, of course, we've just recently launched Secure Reporter. Secure Reporter is part of our Cloud CNM, cloud management system for our security products, but it gives you basically comprehensive log analysis. So all your syslogs that are coming from the devices, including the USGs, so the ATP, the USG, the VPN series, all of our security appliances can now report to Secure Reporter as a syslog. You get all the data correlation in real time. You get real-time analytics for it. It's great if you're a managed service provider and you want to add value to your service. You can do customized reports, things like that you can send off to your customers to show the latest threats, what we've blocked, how many threats have hit, how many viruses, how many malware, how many ransomware we blocked, things like that, to really show value of what maybe the customer is paying on a monthly fee. Here's a kind of a look at the ATP dashboard itself. Again, it has a lot of information there, and you can look at and see kind of overall everything: the top URLs detected, what kind of traffic is there, who's using the most bandwidth, etc. So it's real good at that. In Secure Reporter, it's a central console. So whether you would actually subscribe to a cloud service. So the Secure Reporter is within the cloud. You subscribe to that. It provides, again, the centralized console, gives you analysis and alerting of it. It also gives you granular, information, charts, colorful pie charts, etc. Also, there's an app available that gives you notifications, gives you information on, your network health, etc. As well as a lot of different informations on the report. So you could do a security analysis report that kind of runs through a pre-made report. Of course, we're making that customizable as well. We're working on seeing how what your feedback is on what information should be included within that. So, obviously take that into note. Our Secure Reporter comes on any of our products that have security right now. If you upgrade to the latest firmware, you'll be able to get and try a 30-day trial. You just activate the trial in myzyxel.com like you would with any of our licensing products like content filtering. You can activate the 30-day trial. So here you can do that as well for Secure Reporter. Now, Secure Reporter, just to keep you, just so you understand, each particular product, each node needs to have that license basically for it. So every device has to have a license. We did have a question from Seth. Is there an option to purchase a Firewall 110 or 310 and then add the ATP services through a license key upgrade? And no, this ATP product is its own standard product line, and you'll see why as well, because of the new enhanced hardware that it's using. And it also has a little bit of difference in terms of its firmware because it's doing that sandboxing capabilities, etc. Even though they're kind of similar in terms of our security products are similar in that regard, it does not have a migration path from the Firewall series to ATP just by license. You have to get the new hardware. But what we see though, when you see the actual specs and things like that, you'll see why that this is kind of the future. It kind of makes sense to go moving from a USG series, especially for your high-end customers with high bandwidth UTM. This is going to be our killer solution right now, and you'll see in a little bit. The ATP series portfolio consists of 3 models: the ATP 200, the 500, and the 800. The 800 actually isn't available until November, December timeframe, but of course it just scales in throughput. But it does everything. It does the sandboxing, the web security, the application security, which is like your app patrol. It does your malware blocking, which is what you're used to, like antivirus, your intrusion detection prevention, and also does the geo enforcer. And we'll talk about each one of these real quick as well, just as an introduction. It also gives you the managed AP, so you can use it as a controller like you're used to in the USG, and it does the HA Pro, so High Availability Pro, where you have the hardware platforms together. It's like, say, 2 devices. It will do a session by session, information, pretty much an identical mapping of each other through a heartbeat link, and then be able to switch over when something fails. If a hardware piece fails, it can take over and look like nothing's ever happened, right? So that's where HA Pro comes into play. And of course, it's all wrapped around all of our reporting, our Secure Manager, to do management solutions for these products. And the ATP comes in basically has a license. When you buy the ATP product, what you'll see in the channel when you buy it out of the box, it will actually include a full 1-year license of the Gold Security Pack. So it has all these features, all enabled. So right out of the bat, you get all of the content web security. And this is a good slide, actually, if you're wondering, well, what is web security? It consists of both the content filtering that you're used to and a botnet filter as well. And application security is App Patrol, email security, things like that. Another question was that if there was any planned integration with Nebula, and there is a plan. So yeah, we're looking at finding ways on how we can get all of our products to be managed ultimately with Nebula, but that's probably down the road at the moment. It's in discussion right now. All of the threat management, but keep note as well. The AP service for the wireless controller, it's all included, so you don't have to buy any particular license nodes. It unlocks all the nodes when you buy this pack. So if the product says, hey, it's 18, like the ATP 200 does, it's 18 APs it can support out of the box. It also includes the sandboxing license function as well. So that's where we're sending stuff to the cloud on the unknown, being able to block that, and then share that information across the board. Here's the kind of the down and dirty specs of the product. You'll see the ATP 200 has a 2 gig SPI firewall, so that's pretty massive compared to what it is now. Of course, the price point is quite affordable as well. You'll probably see, I think the ATP 200 is priced around, I believe, $650 street price. But you look at the UTM throughput, 450 megabits of UTM. So that's antivirus and intrusion detection turned on with all of the sandboxing, all of that functionality turned on. You'll get 450 megs of maximum theoretical throughput. So realistically, you'll probably see 250 to maybe 300 in terms of megabits per second. But that is where it really solves the problem, where you may have a customer that says, you know what, I want to do UTM, but I just got a 300 meg Spectrum internet cable modem service to my office. What do I do? Before you were kind of gimped, you kind of throttled, because the devices that are even in the market today, unless you're spending thousands of dollars for a hardware appliance that can do that kind of speed of UTM, it doesn't fit, right? So this product really now fits and brings back in line what we need to fulfill those high bandwidth WAN connections with a price point that really fits into that small business space. Of course, you can always go to the lower end, like use a USG as well, if you're just looking for, hey, a more budget. But you'll see from a pricing perspective, if you're already buying like a USG 60 or a USG 110, it's within that same kind of price point space. So really, we think that the ATP is going to really take over for that, and moving forward will be kind of the growth engine for Zyxel, especially now when the competition doesn't have anything in this kind of price point, and be able to fulfill the price point needs and the bandwidth throughput speeds as well. The ATP 500, you're looking at, I think it's around $850 or maybe $900. I think it's somewhere around there. But that's pushing 700 megabits per second of UTM throughput with 1 million sessions as well, right? So it's quite massive in terms of what you can do with the product, being able to do all of those. And of course, all the subscription services at the bottom, we just made it simple. If you want it, it's going to be part of that one Gold Security Pack. If you don't want it, well, then you shouldn't have bought an ATP in the first place. You should just buy a VPN series model to have, high bandwidth throughput. But if you're looking for UTM, we're going to give you the whole package. So that's really the great thing for the customers. Make it easy for you to sell, make it easy for the customers to understand and to buy. Another question from Seth was that if, for customers who have the Zywall 310 with UTM license, is there any significant benefit other than sandboxing? Well, also not only sandboxing, but from a price perspective standpoint, they're going to get better throughput, better UTM performance for a better price, basically. So it's going to be, in some cases, no-brainer when they are using, when you're comparing a Zywall or a USG versus an ATP. So it's going to be maybe a little bit more expensive, but you'll see the throughput draw on it is going to be much better. All right, so let's go through each one of these little features so you have a background on what they are. Sandboxing. We are basically calling it know the unknown, right? It makes sense. So why do you use sandboxing? Well, there's all sorts of traffic. There's traffic that you know that is bad, you know that is good, and there's everything that's kind of in between. And of course, you can use an existing filter or service that can actually recognize some of them, right? You can see what's good with like malware blocker or intrusion detection, those kinds of things with web security, or you can know things that are bad. So you can block against those. But of course, there's unknown things, right? There's kind of, well, it might be good, it might be bad, or it's unknown altogether. It's never been seen before. So what do you do with that? So we send it to a sandbox, and the sandbox is just an isolated, safe place in the cloud that we do a bunch of different things to. We take unknown programs, we contain it, we execute it, we emulate it, we inspect to see its behavior. It opens up, like, let's say an Excel document that it doesn't recognize or may have something that is suspicious, and sees if there's scripting language or things that it's doing outside just opening up as a document. Maybe it's sending different kinds of connections to the cloud or to some sort of host IP address, things like that. We're able to detect that and then be able to make decisions on it via the cloud. The sandbox then analyze it. Obviously, it tries to verify if it's malicious or not. So it makes it basically you become all the unknown threats become known. So you emulate the file to see if it's malicious. You block it if it's malware or if it's behaving wrongly, and then you add it to the existing database. And all of this happens within seconds a lot of times. And then there's an incident response. There's updates that get converted to a kind of conventional signature, and that's released as well to the cloud. And it's also self-evolving. So things that are changing, the machine starts to learn what's going on, and it becomes kind of your automated defense system, and it shares that globally across all devices on using the product. So the malware blocker is both anti-malware and cloud threat database functionalities. So you still have your existing kind of signature-based scanning. You're used to that kind of malware blocking where it's stream-based. Things are coming through, and if there's a file detection within it or a hash or things like that, it shows up as malware, then of course it's gonna block it, or it's gonna corrupt the file so you can't use it. So it can look within compressed files as well, web content, common file types, things like that. You still have your signature based, and also it's also cloud optimized as well. So there's daily updates that come from the Zyxel security cloud. It leverages the global device query and to be able to find threats that are zero-day malware. So then it becomes, much more efficient, much more, better protection for those kinds of threats. The cloud database works in a way where, again, the cloud intelligence of the ATP device syncs with the cloud. It provides that information not only to the cloud, but then it gets the latest information on threats that may not have happened to it specifically, but maybe on some other person's site. But now it's inoculated and protected against those threats on your network. So there's all this, cloud database that's optimized. Of course, we look at all sorts of, time, severity, the region that it's been. It gets ranked based on that. And then, of course, it provides that information to the ATP and further strengthens the service altogether. So over time, it gets basically more secure. On the web security side, we have our botnet filter and our content filter. So why web security in general? Of course, a lot of websites are being used as watering holes. So there's people who will take over a site, put either malware there, either clickbait people there, or just in general have some sort of scripting language that people are coming there for whatever reason, and then being infected or being affected by that. So there's a lot of compromised government websites. There's a lot of things like that they're using. Web security that we use in our product has botnet filter and content filtering services. So it can protect against those kinds of compromised websites. So again, it's all in the cloud. All of the URL IP reputation databases in our Minerva cloud. The user's information, may query for those, for those websites. Then the product is very high, highly efficient, so very low latency on when it queries and gets a response from the cloud on the categorization of the product. If there's maybe that IP has been compromised, it can block against that and then take some sort of action within the firewall itself. So of course, the features, it can block and prevent against the botnet IPs, doing it very reliably. And then of course, you still have your content filtering, being able to block non-business related websites, preventing internet abuse, being able to prevent people from going and spending time at, like, let's say, YouTube, Facebook, things like that, or even set times of day of access. So you can say, hey, well, before office hours, you can go ahead and surf Facebook all you want, and that is something that you can enable within the products. Of course, there's security benefits of that, and you can protect against cryptojacking things. Sites that have those cryptojacking malware, you can, on the content filtering side, you can block, like I mentioned earlier, on a granular level as well. For the application security, that's what you're used to knowing as App Patrol and also email. So this anti-spam and the application control is kind of merged into application security. So application security, of course, there's a lot of apps that are there, that are out there. There's a lot of different types of product softwares that can be compromised or can be used. Things like BitTorrent, things like that. You want to be able to recognize them. And of course, ransomware is a big deal, especially in the email space. So you have your anti-spam, a lot of the phishing emails that cause you to click. I mean, we have this here at Zyxel in terms of, when an email comes through, a lot of times it seems very targeted, especially with all this Prop 65 things for product in California that you have to put, information on. There's malware that actually is coming out that says, hey, you're not compliant, click this, PDF or this Excel file to find out, why you're not compliant. And so, we're trained to not open those kinds of things, unless like IT tells us, it's all good, gives us the go ahead. But they're really targeting about things that are really kind of pertaining to the business, right? You probably get emails from who knows who that here's an invoice for a product that you actually sell, right? And that's a way that they can really get you to click that, open that, and really bait you into opening that. So we're able to handle that with our anti-spam as well. If you're not using an anti-spam type service or malware spam service, application is designed to really secure those kinds of behaviors, especially in the application and email. So we're able to detect be able to block different types of applications, like peer-to-peer downloads, those kinds of things. But really, not only to block, but we can then also optimize. So if you have like Office 365, WebEx traffic, those kinds of apps, we can actually prioritize, give it a better throughput, better priority over the network in order to optimize, maximize the user experience, right, for doing business. But things like YouTube or Facebook or even Netflix, we can actually either block or we can mitigate. We can say, well, you can do it at certain times, or you can lower the bandwidth and say, hey, it has lower priority, but maximum, 1 meg per second. Causes Netflix to go to standard def, let's say, right? That's what we can do within our products to throttle, control, or even to block different types of applications. The intrusion prevention is what you're used to as well, along with the deep packet inspection. Deep inspection on the layer 7 level, we're able to look at from a signature base, both on a signature base, on a behavioral base, and on an anomaly base as well. So it can match different types of patterns, either overflows, or if it's a web attack, is it an exploit, and then be able to look at the anomaly to see if protocol and traffic anomalies are happening, to see if somebody's trying to get into the network, and then behavioral. So identifying if this is some sort of bot or a CNC server that's calling home packets, etc. And of course, how does it help? It blocks those exploits. It blocks the malware, blocks different kinds of vulnerable applications or attacks on those vulnerable applications like Internet Explorer, which thankfully is no longer around on the most part, Flash and Java, things like that. We can also do deep packet inspection as well, looking at that network traffic to prevent those attacks coming in from the outside. Now, of course, geo enforcers is pretty cool. It's a way to basically protect you from the world if you want. If you're a true like isolationist, you can choose this option, which is already included. You just have to enable it. It basically, GeoEnforcer will translate IP addresses that are around the world on a global database that we have access to, that maps IP addresses to a geographical location. So you're able to identify, traffic that's coming from different countries. So you can say, hey, network traffic that's going through, you can go through to the internet, to the US, to Canada, to Germany, whatever, but you can block it to, they have it here, Japan. I don't know why they chose Japan, but it could be North Korea, right, or whatever, or traffic from that area coming back. You can block that. So you know where it's going, you know where it's coming from, so you can basically whitelist it and say, you know what, all of my traffic, I just care about, I do business in the US. I only want US customers, I only want US IPs. I'm just gonna whitelist that for the US, and then be able to control that. Now, of course, this is also great for, VPN policies, because you can say, hey, all my users are all US based. They don't travel out of the US unless maybe to a specific country. So I will block any kind of VPN traffic trying to open up a VPN from other countries. So you can really close down and lock down your vulnerabilities, kind of nip it at the bud before they can even do anything, right? You can block basically from their IP addresses. Of course, there's always ways around it, but what it does is it eliminates the kind of the zombie host computers that are coming from infected computers out in the web, trying to find hosts to infect, right? You can just block those. So all traffic from, name your country, will automatically get blocked. So whether they're legit or they are, zombied computers, all will get blocked. So that's how it blocks. It helps because it blocks those IPs, and you can do it by a whitelist, of the countries that you want. So it's really quick and easy way of kind of mitigating those kinds of attacks. The connectivity service consists of HA Pro and the controller function. So HA Pro, like I mentioned earlier, it's an active passive. It auto syncs everything from the active. So the passive device basically is an exact copy mirror. It also has it synchronizes through as well through an uplink. So you use one of the Ethernet ports, and it keeps both the heartbeat, and it also provides all of the sessions, all of the TCP connections, DHCP, VPN, connections, etc. So that if the hardware, the active device goes down for whatever reason, the passive device becomes the active, and it takes over pretty much instantaneously. So within probably 4 milliseconds or so, it will automatically come over, and does not, the cool thing is that it does not need to rebuild sessions. So if somebody's streaming something or somebody's downloading a file, you won't get a break in the connection. It'll just have a little pause, a little hiccup, and then it will continue on again. Especially that's great for VPN tunnels when you have a break, and if it has to like rebuild all the tunnels, then it's it could be a few minutes before it all comes back online. One other question about the hardware was that is there a warranty for the hardware if the customer doesn't renew the gold license after 12 months? The hardware itself is separate from that yearly license. So the hardware warranty on the ATP product is just like our other USG or security products. It's a limited lifetime hardware warranty. So you'll have that available whether or not they subscribe to it. But of course, like I mentioned earlier, if you're really looking for a product that is not doing the sandboxing, and because it already comes with 1 year of the gold security license there, you're more likely that you're going to be renewing it because people are going to be using it for a year. There's not a good case for them to just, well, I don't want that service, I'm going to downgrade it to a non-secure or lower security just VPN device. So that's what it ends up becoming, is kind of a high throughput VPN appliance, which if that's your original intent in the beginning, you would just buy the VPN series right off the bat. The device, Zach asked, is the device HA included with the device? And yes, that is, everything is pretty much, when you buy it out of the box, it's going to come with the HA Pro, it's going to come with all the AP controller licenses included. So it's fully loaded, fully enabled. There's no other licenses that you have to pay. So we've just made it one device, one license, for everything. So you can't buy the individual licenses a la carte anymore. You just have to buy the whole thing, because we figure if you want security, you need all of the security. Now it's up to you whether you want to turn them all on or not. But of course, if you look at the throughput that's there, even if you turn them all on, you're going to get great throughput. So you're going to be able to meet those demands for those high bandwidth connections. So of course, there's also benefit, right? There's we think one of the best TCOs for the product. The total cost of ownership, not only from the price point, it's very competitive, even with, against the competitors that are there with much slower throughput. We're in line with that. But on top of that, we have no support contracts. We have no licensing fees for firmware upgrades. So you'll get, for the life of the product, firmware access to any new features that we add to the ATP, and this applies to all of our security appliances. You get the lifetime hardware warranty as well, without having to pay that support contract as well, like our competitors would have you do. So really, over time, the product just really pays for itself. Especially if you're a managed service provider, you'll be able to churn and to get revenue from it very quickly. It's a pay as you grow. You can scale the AP controller function as you need, because it already is included there. And of course, you can use any of our AP, managed AP, business class APs within the device to be controlled. So there's no extra configuration needed when you're using our controller. So that's all there. You don't need another standalone wireless LAN controller. And people always ask, can I use a competitor or third-party AP for the controller? The answer is no. You have to actually use Zyxel's managed AP. So it's our 5000 series or above. Those access points can be used for with this wireless LAN controller function that's integrated. So as you can see here, the device technically is defaulted for 2 if you downgrade for whatever reason, but the license default when you buy the security pack, which is what is actually included, we bundled it already, it's 18. So for the ATP 200. So you can see when you buy it out of the box, you can get 18, 34, and 130 access point support. So there's really kind of no reason from a cost perspective to kind of downgrade to the non-licensed version, pretty much. So even though it has that option, you could, after a year, but we don't sell what we call maybe like a naked device or a non-bundled device. The ATP 200 is sold with the 1-year licenses already included. So maybe some of this information might be a little bit, just adds to maybe a little bit of confusion for you, but just know it comes fully loaded when you buy it out of the box. And then every year you can just renew for the services, and it stays fully loaded. So let's take a look at the appendix here. Basically, I have some slides that talk about how to choose between a USG and ATP. Honestly, like from my perspective as a product manager for the product, you would want to go and see how you can standardize as quickly as possible, really, to the ATP series, especially if you have customers who are looking at or thinking about moving up in terms of their internet speeds, right? They're going to immediately get like 100 meg connections, like right off the bat. And many of them will then move to 300 or even 500 megabits per second. So you want to be able to handle that. And, it'd be terrible for you to say, well, here's a product, but you can't use fully all of the security in order for you to meet those throughput needs, right? That's probably not the greatest way of saying, hey, well, you can use it, but you'll be less secure, right? We want you to be secure. So the ATP product gives you that power to be able to provide not only the security, but be able to maximize the speed there as well. Can we purchase, Seth has asked as well, can we purchase the security reporter separately if we don't need sandboxing? Yes, you technically can. So we do sell the security reporter separately, and you'll see within the price list, it's kind of divided within, a low end licensing for the lower end models, and then a higher end pricing for the higher end models. So you can get security reporter for ATP if you need it. But again, ATP already has in the bundle included with the security reporter. So if you bought ATP, you already have everything as well, including sandboxing. But again, with sandboxing, if you don't need it, you already have it. It's kind of already included in the price. So you could just not use it if you want. You can just disable sandboxing if you'd like, but it's all kind of wrapped into that whole bundle, and we don't sell it those separately. So for the USG ATP, so ATP, of course, is the advanced security. It blocks the unknown. When the Zywall is only blocking kind of everything known, right? It's good for networking protection. The ATP is a hybrid intelligence, so it does cloud, it does data defense based on what it learns. The ATP is bundled with it, so bundled with all the services, and to provide you that multi-layer protection, and also provides dual mode. So there's your answer to your question. Probably the second half of next year, we'll have Nebula integration with the ATP product, being able to be hybrid mode, so you can use it as a standalone or be used in the Nebula cloud. Zywall USG series, it's good for kind of like in general, if you want hospitality integration, hospitality, the gateway functionality, that's when you would choose the USG. At the moment, the ATP series does not have any kind of hospitality solutions. So those hotspot licenses do not apply to the ATP series at the moment. So if you want kind of high throughput, but you want maybe the USG to handle the hospitality gateway function, you're going to need to have kind of two boxes in that regard. The Zywall USG series offers kind of an all-in-one license, or you can buy those a la carte. But again, it's the throughput that kind of comes into play. If you have a customer that's like, under 100 megs, maybe 1 to 200 megs, the USG series may fit very well for them. So of course, it's a lower price point as well than the ATP. You can still sell those USG series. And we also have unbundled SKUs as well for the USG. So you can buy them just pretty much a la carte. And you can then add services that you need, the content filtering, the intrusion detection, the anti-spam, the antivirus, as you need. So there's flexibility in the USG. But for the ATP, we're focused on, hey, you want the full protection, you want high throughput protection, you want everything, because that's what you really need. The ATP series is for you. And that's what kind of that says. All right, so the feature comparison there, you'll notice for the ATP, it has the botnet filters, the sandboxing functionality, and then the ATP will have that zero-day IP reputation information in the first half of next year as a firmware upgrade. There's more, more kind of information, especially the cloud learning side for the malware, for the IDP and the App Patrol. The ATP is superior in terms of that. That's where we would take a look. The throughput on it is the big deal as well. You can see like a USG 210, it has 600 megabits of IDP, whereas the 500 can do, probably twice as much. I think that number is actually more. I think it might be the, it should be the HP 800, I believe. So that concludes the ATP, section. And I wanted to cover a little bit about our partner program. If you haven't joined our partner program as yet, please take a look at that. We have our partner program. When you sign up for our partner program, you're automatically in our silver tier, which gives you 16% off at distribution. That'll be your discount. Your qualifying sales to maintain that for half a year is $6K. So if you're doing $1K of business per month, then you can stay within that silver. Otherwise, after a six-month period, you're going to be downgraded down to the bronze, where you don't get any extra discounts. But of course, if you can get to $2K per month, if that's kind of the business that you're in, you can move up to our gold tier, which gives you 20% off of distribution pricing, gives you access to lead referrals, our sales engineer access, advanced replacement. So it's really kind of not, really not a high bar for you to go to get to the maximum discount, maximum support that you have. If you have any questions, go to partner, or I think it's vars.zyxel.com to get more information on our partner program, or you can find that through our website as well. One question that Zach had, do all of these ATPs show up under one management dashboard? Correct. So if when you have when you sign up for, or when you register to myzyxel.com, myzyxel is our kind of our licensing registration. So that's where it kind of implements all that information. The management part of it, that's the license. My Zyxel is the management of the licensing. In order for you to get kind of a central management system, that's where you would use our cloud CNM. That's our cloud central network management software. And that is right now it's a virtual software. So you have to have your own VM server for you to install it on, but that becomes a central management system that all of your devices that you're managing are going to reporting to and be able to manage configurations, upload, things like that. Ultimately, we're moving towards that Nebula cloud, so all of these products would then become part of the umbrella. But like I mentioned earlier, it probably won't happen until the second half of next year before that's fully integrated there. But for now, we do have, if you're doing mass deployments, you can use that cloud CNM function for the VM. Of course, we're also looking at ways to bringing that cloud CNM to the cloud, so you can subscribe to a service that maybe manages all of the devices that you have under your account. Ken did ask, I had a question about how much is the demo discount. You're going to have to check with your sales rep. If you don't have a sales rep already, once you sign up for our partner program, you'll automatically get a sales rep for your region. The demo, usually we have like an NFR pricing, and that's typically around 50% off MSRP. So, take a look, but talk to our sales rep, and they can get you the demo units there for you, for the NFR units all set up. So the partner site is vars.zyxel.com. So if you need any more information, feel free to go there and find out more information and sign up for our partner program. We look forward for you being a partner with us, and we look forward to partnering with you and becoming your networking ally. So that concludes my webinar. If there are any other questions, again, my name is Tri. If you have questions that you want to send to me, maybe after the webinar that you've, once you kind of review the information, you can send it to Tri, that's T-R-I, at Zyxel.com. And if you have any questions, if you want to use the Q&A section right now, we can answer those. But I've been answering them as we went along. So if you don't have any questions, let me know. And thank you, Alex. Thank you for saying thank you. I appreciate that. It's a lot of fun doing these webinars, especially when we have, a bunch of people who want to hear about the new products at Zyxel. But we hope that, my excitement for the product comes through. I'm really excited about this product because I think it really addresses the market need. We get calls from customers all the time, and we haven't really been able to tell them, that there is a product for you that would solve your problem, but it's not out yet, right? But now that it's out, we can really spread the word that, our product is quite superior to the current competition that's out there. Actually, I have, we'll see if we can get our marketing to send you this sheet. Let me pull it over here. We have a competition sheet that can help you kind of, if you're needing to convince customers or send to your customers as well if you want, that kind of puts the ATP against, the Fortinet devices, the Sonic Walls, WatchGuard, Sophos, the throughput max, the AV, the UTM performance. You can see here, 450 megabits on the ATP, right? And the competitors, the closest one is maybe the Sophos product, but from a price perspective, you're going to see it's going to be, night and day. Our product's going to be very well priced, again, because not only from a upfront price cost, but for the years to come with the support contracts and the hardware warranty, all of that. So find out. We'll try to get this posted and also sent out to you, so you have this competition sheet. So this one's for the HP 800. This is the 500 competition. So again, our throughput is massive, 700 megs versus 200 and 300 megs from the competition. So we will send that over. There's also another document. I think our data sheet should be available. Let me see. Our data sheet is. Oh wait, it was right there. Our data sheet, you can download that from our website as well, with all the ATP devices, the information about the product, how the product is working from the cloud perspective, the management, the subscription services, the feature sets, and the throughputs, all the information that you need. Now, of course, here I didn't mention it because we don't provide it here in the US. There is technically a silver pack that is out there that just takes out sandboxing. And so we actually don't offer that license. We want customers to have an easy to buy experience. So if you want ATP, the sandboxing is one of the main features why you would get an ATP, so the gold one already includes it. And from a price perspective, there was really no difference really. So it made sense to just price the gold package right and be competitive with that as a whole and be able to just unlock the full potential of the product, rather than having you have only 2 APs, no secure reporter function, no sandboxing, right? It's like the product already comes with gold. Why in a year would you downgrade to silver, right? That's kind of our mentality. You might as well just stick with gold when the price point is not that different. So the gold package SKU, you'll find it will be in our price list release. You'll see that. If you don't see it already, it should already be there. The gold package will be based on each individual product, and that includes all of the fully bundled. But the thing is, you won't need to know about the gold package or don't really care unless you're wanting to add additional years to your customers' licensing. Remember, the product already comes fully bundled with 1 year of gold. So you're good to go with that, at least for a year, and then you can choose to renew it or not. Of course, you can then sell 2 years, add on, so your whole package gets 3 years if you want. It all depends on what you're doing. Depends on how maybe you're selling it to the customer, or if you're doing it as a managed service provider and wanting to just, minimize your upfront costs so that you can just renew it every year through that process. So we'll get these 2 documents at least linked to you or posted somewhere for you, and so you'll have access to that. We'll also see if we could post the PowerPoint of it as a PDF. So we'll talk to our marketing, get all that information to you so you can watch and learn on your own about the new product. So again, I thank you so much for joining me for this last hour. Appreciate your time. I know it's precious to you. It's precious to us as well. We hope to see you again in a future webinar. We'll be doing one in a couple weeks that kind of covers all kind of security. If you're kind of newer to the security market and want to learn about terminologies, networking terms, functionalities, things like that, the threats that are out there, that's kind of be the webinar for you. So again, thank you. We'll see you again sometime soon at our next webinar. Take care. And we look forward to being your networking ally. Thank you again.